Shravanam Diaries podcast.
Hare Krishna everyone, we are continuing to read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the book by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Chapter 10, The Opulence of the Absolute, Text 3. Yamama Jamanajim cha Vettiloka Maheshwaram Asamudha Samartyeshu Sarva Papai Pramuchyate. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the Supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. Wow. Freed from all sins. So, who knows the Lord as unborn, beginningless, and the Supreme Lord of all the worlds. Purport. As stated in the 7th chapter, 7.3, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschidyatati siddhaye. Those who are trying to elevate themselves to the platform of spiritual realization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men who have no knowledge of spiritual realization. But out of those actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one who can come to the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything, the unborn, is the most successful spiritually realized person. In that stage only, when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, can one be free completely from all sinful reactions. Here the Lord is described by the word aja, meaning unborn. But he is distinct from the living entities who are described in the 2nd chapter as aja. The Lord is different from the living entities who are taking birth and dying due to material attachment. The conditioned souls who are changing their bodies. But his body is not changeable. Even when he comes to this material world, he comes as the same unborn. Therefore, in the 4th chapter, it is said that the Lord, by his internal potency, is not under the inferior material energy, but is always in the superior energy. In this verse, the words Vettiloka Maheshwaram indicate that one should know that Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of the planetary systems of the universe. He was existing before the creation, and he is different from his creation. All the demigods were created within this material world. But as far as Krishna is concerned, it is said that he is not created. Therefore, Krishna is different even from the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. And because he is the creator of Brahma, Shiva, and all the other demigods, he is the supreme person of all planets. Shri Krishna is therefore different from everything that is created, and anyone who knows him as such immediately becomes liberated from all sinful reactions. One must be liberated from all sinful activities to be in the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Only by devotional service can he be known, and not by any other means, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. One should not try to understand Krishna as a human being, As stated previously, only a foolish person thinks him to be a human being. This is again expressed here in a different way. A man who is not foolish, who is intelligent enough to understand the constitutional position of the Godhead, is always free from all sinful reactions. If Krishna is known as the son of Devaki, then how can he be unborn? That is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. When he appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva, he was not born as an ordinary child. He appeared in his original form, and then he transformed himself into an ordinary child. Anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. It cannot be contaminated by material reactions, which may be auspicious or inauspicious. The conception that there are things auspicious and inauspicious in the material world is more or less a mental concoction, because there is nothing auspicious in the material world. Everything is inauspicious because the very material nature is inauspicious. We simply imagine it to be auspicious. Real auspiciousness depends on activities in Krishna consciousness in full devotion and service. This quote, I remember clearly the first time I read this. I highlighted it, I wrote it down in my diary, and I kept remembering this quote. That the conception that there are things auspicious and inauspicious is a concoction, because there's nothing auspicious in the material world. Because, in Russia or in many Asian countries, you have this thing, auspicious, inauspicious. Oh, if you do this thing, it's bad. If you do this thing, it's good. It will bring you luck. Oh, this will bring you misfortune. All these different, you can say, superstitions. But even more than superstitions, of course, being exposed to anything undesirable and desirable. This very conception really was completely destroyed by this single statement that Srila Prabhupada makes. There is nothing auspicious in this material world. Material world by nature is inauspicious. That also takes us back to yesterday's Q&A, when somebody was asking, right? The subscriber was asking, what is dharma and adharma? Dharma is always remember Krishna. Adharma is never forget Krishna. So what is auspicious and inauspicious? Auspicious means you serve the Supreme Lord. Inauspicious is everything else. Everything else is inauspicious. So let's read it again. The conception that there are things auspicious and inauspicious in the material world is more or less a mental concoction, because there is nothing auspicious in the material world. Everything is inauspicious because the very material nature is inauspicious. We simply imagine it to be auspicious. Real auspiciousness depends on activities in Krishna consciousness in full devotion and service. Therefore, if we at all want our activities to be auspicious, then we should work under the directions of the Supreme Lord. Such directions are given in authoritative scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, or from a bona fide spiritual master. Because the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord, his direction is directly the direction of the Supreme Lord. His direction is directly the direction of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master, saintly persons, and scriptures direct in the same way. There are no contradictions in these three sources. So what are these three? Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Guru, spiritual master. Sadhu, saintly persons. Scriptures, Shastra. So Guru, Sadhu, Shastra have no contradiction. All actions done under such direction are free from the reactions of pious and impious activities of this material world. The transcendental attitude of the devotee in the performance of activities is actually that of renunciation, and this is called sannyasa. As stated in the first verse of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one who acts as a matter of duty, because he has been ordered to do so by the Supreme Lord, and who does not seek shelter in the fruits of his activities, anashritah karma phalam, is a true renouncer. So acting out of duty because we've been ordered by the Lord, and not seeking shelter in the fruits of activities. Anyone under the direction of the Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi. Anyone. You're a sannyasi and a yogi. You're a sannyasi and a yogi. You're a sannyasi and a yogi. Everyone's a sannyasi and a yogi. Haribol. And not the man who has simply taken the dress of the sannyasi or a pseudo yogi. Jai. So, we are going to stop here for today because tomorrow there is a very long purport, a very important verse. I would like to start from scratch.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. The book links, previous episodes timeline, and biography of the author can be found on shravanamdiaries.com. The link is in the description, and we shall see you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna, Krishna